which if that happens, I'm just going to put it out there. If that is a piece that is offered to me, I don't think I'll be able to say no. I've been strong. I haven't bought a rodeo in quite a while. But if that is a piece that is offered to me, I think my credit card will just swipe itself. Hello my friends, my name is G.P.S. and welcome back. Since so many of you enjoyed my last ranking video on some of the latest Hermes bag launches, I thought we could go ahead and do the same ranking idea, but this time on new Hermes accessories. Now you may remember me talking about some of these pieces in previous videos or even over on my Instagram. But sometimes it feels like that we are in a hamster wheel constantly bombarded with new launches. So I actually think it will be nice to have an overview of these pieces, especially because now almost all of these are available or should be any day now. So we know a lot more about them today than we did before. We know pricing, we know what colors they're going to be available in. And I've also had a chance to see a couple of these pieces in person. So if you'd like to chat about some new exciting Hermes launches and hear whether I've changed my mind about the pieces that I've had a chance to see up close and personal, then please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and keep on watching. I just went ahead and grabbed my computer so we can get started, and we're going to be using the exact same tier maker app that we used in my previous videos. But in case this is your first time watching one of these videos from me, let me walk you through the different categories that we're using. So we have love on top. These are obviously the pieces that I love and would love to either add to my collection or if anything have a closer look at them in person if I haven't had a chance to do so. The next category is great investment. As always when it comes to fashion investment, when I talk about great investment, I talk about pieces that are worth investing your money in. Not because you'll get your money back if you ever want to sell them, especially when it comes to accessories, but more like you'll get your money's worth out of them, so they would be a great long-term investment to make into your wardrobe. Then the third category is meh. These are the pieces that I think you could easily go without. I personally wouldn't go out of my way to get any one of these pieces, but they're okay. If someone gives these to you, I think you should use them and I have no doubt that you'd be happy with them, but I personally wouldn't spend a crazy amount of money on them. Then the fourth category is not for me. These are pieces that I don't think are hopeless, but they are perhaps an acquired taste. And then last and least, let's be honest, or avoid, these are the pieces that I would under no circumstance spend my money on, and I wouldn't recommend that you do either. Our first piece here is a new take on the iconic Oran sandals. And in case I seem surprised that these are the first pieces, that's because I am. When I upload pictures into this system, it shuffles them up so I never know what comes first, which keeps things exciting even for me. But the Oran sandals I definitely wanted to talk about because even though it might not seem like the most exciting new launch, it's kind of a great introduction to a new collection, perhaps, let's just put it that way, that is coming down the pipe from Hermes. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just talk about the new Oran sandals. I feel like even luxury lovers who are not into Hermes own these sandals because they are just so iconic. And I have to say they are quite flattering. For a flat, simple pair of sandals, there's just something about the way the Oran sandals are cut that they do look extremely flattering on the feet. They do have these shoes obviously for women, which are called the Oran sandals. They come with different heel height, they come in different variations. And then they have the exact same sandals for men that are called the Izmir. They're slightly different, but the idea is exactly the same. They have that H cut out on the top of the sandal. And the Oran sandals is a piece that Hermes always plays around with. They come out with different variations of it every single season. They've done these in mink, they've done these in crystals, you can get them in different exotic skins. And for the new season, they are launching them in shearling. Well, technically the term that Hermes uses is wool skin, which I assume is just shearling. I'm not quite sure what the difference is between wolfskin and shearling. If you know the difference, please let me know in the comment section. But I'm going to go ahead and just call it shearling. But Hermes actually has done shearling in the past on the Oran sandals, but it was a completely different look. On these ones, which are kind of the Teddy Oran sandals, the entire thing is covered in this luscious plush fur, which does make them look like and feel like a teddy bear. I'm personally not someone who would wear these sandals out and about. I'm just too much of a germaphobe, but if you would, I would highly recommend that you look into these because they look 20 times more expensive than they actually are. And Hermes is actually launching quite a few new pairs of shoes in this new wolfskin. They have another pair of sandals that I've seen. They also have the Avantage sneakers coming in wolfskin. But if I could only pick one, I would probably pick the Oran sandals, and I would recommend that you go for these ones because they just look so incredibly chic. And the reason why I wanted to put this in here, even though it's just a pair of shoes, other than the fact that I absolutely love them, is because I think this is part of a much larger picture of all the new shearling pieces that are coming from Hermes. So rumor has it that Hermes is bringing back the so-called Teddy Kelly that was designed by Jean-Paul Gaultier many moons at this point. But this is a collection that should be coming back. And I've heard rumblings that if the Kelly actually launches, the Kelly 35 in the Teddy edition, there will also be a rodeo launching at the same time in shearling, which if that happens, I'm just going to put it out there, if that is a piece that is offered to me, I don't think I'll be able to say no. I've been strong, I haven't bought a rodeo in quite a while, but if that is a piece that is offered to me, I think my credit card will just swipe itself. So we'll see if it actually happens. Obviously, I will keep you posted. But the reason I brought this up is because Hermes does this a lot, that they would come out with a couple of smaller pieces that is indicative to what's to come. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was Hermes' way of teasing the new Teddy line launching, and I'm all for it. So for me, the orange sandals, even though I would not be able to buy them for myself because they don't fit me, they're going to be a love. This has to be one of my most favorite launches from Hermes. And the fact that they are also launching in sneakers makes me hopeful that possibly they'll also be available for men, which if that happens, I'll be sure to add them to my cart. But in terms of pricing, I forgot to mention that the orange sandals in the Teddy version are about 150 euros more expensive than the original versions and about $200 when we talk about prices in the US. So the orange sandals in Europe in the new Teddy edition are going to be 650 euros and $830, which compared to the original versions, I don't think it's too outrageous considering how incredibly chic they look. Moving on, we have a piece here that I'm not quite as enthusiastic about as I was about the orange sandals, which are the new Pegasus Rodeo back charms. This was the latest addition to the Hermes Rodeo family, which are pieces that I have done in-depth reviews on. So if you're interested, I'll make sure to have them linked up here. I sort of have this love and hate relationship with rodeos. Some days I love them, others I cannot stand them. But I do think that they are a great way of adding just a really nice personalized touch to your bag collection, especially if you're someone like me who mainly collects monochromatic bags or bags in neutral colors. It is a fun way of adding a pop of color to certain bags if you want to. But I really don't think that you need any more than a couple of them or maybe even just one, because yes, they do have different variations and different colorways, but after seeing 2 or 3 of them, I find that they just become redundant and they don't add anything new to your collection. But the latest drop was these Pegasus Rodeos, which I know people went crazy for. It comes in 2 different sizes in MM and PM, and I believe 5 different colorways for 5 different colorways. And they're basically the rodeo back charm, but they have this wing instead of the saddle, which I have to tell you, I've seen this on display and it looked so juvenile. I know that rodeos are already not a fan favorite for everyone. They are not pieces that are widely loved. Some people adore them, others cannot stand them because they find that they look just really childish. And I agree, sometimes they can come off childish, especially if you get them in one of the original tricolor variations. But this one kind of looks like you got this from a toy store and you just put it on your bag. This I really wasn't the biggest fan of. I didn't like any of the color combinations. I didn't like the wing. I just felt it was overwhelming. I didn't think it looked flattering or elegant in any shape or form. So for me, this is going to be... I'm going back and forth between avoid and not for me. The reason why I would say avoid, because for me, and if you're not a rodeo fan, is an absolute avoid. But if you're a rodeo collector, I can see why you'd like them. But I'm just going to stick with avoid. I just really don't like them. I really wasn't a fan of these. I think they looked really cheap at the end of the day. Next up, we have a piece that I don't believe I have talked about, but I know it has just started hitting stores, which are the Kelly Wallet 2Gos in a new touch version. So I have several videos talking about the Kelly Wallet because they are some of my most favorite pieces in my Hermes collection. If I had to restart my collection, or if someone asked me what piece I should start my collection with, as long as you can justify the price because they are expensive, I would 1000% tell you to go for the Kelly Wallet because they are just such incredible, multifaceted pieces that you can use for pretty much every single occasion in your life. But on the other hand, I'm not such a big fan of the Kelly Wallet 2Gos. The reason being is that I find the strap to be unflattering on most. It's either too long or too short on most people. It's not adjustable. And it's extremely, extremely thin, which I think gives the bag just... It looks like an afterthought. It doesn't look like it was a strap made and designed for the Kelly Wallet. To me, it seems more like they just had a couple of leftover strings of leather that was just thrown on the Kelly Wallet to see what happens. Not to mention the fact that they are more expensive than the original Kelly Wallet and less functional. Because instead of having, I believe, the original 16 credit card setup, they only actually have 4 credit card slots, which I think is a big difference. Especially because most likely if you're buying one of these big wallets, you're buying them because you have plenty of things to keep in there. But regardless, it is launching in a new touch version, meaning that the sangles will be made of alligator, shiny alligator to be specific. I don't know if it will be available with matte alligator. I've only seen it in shiny alligator in a couple of different colorways. Should I do matte or should I do not for me? Matte, I feel, is one of those categories when I'm undecided. I could go either way, but this is definitely not for me. I think there are people who would enjoy it. It's not horrific by any means, but I know I definitely would not spend any money on this. Our next piece is one that I know for a fact has just recently started dripping into stores. So if this is something that you've had your eyes on, I hope you put in a request for this a long time ago, because I have no doubt this one is going to be a tough one to get, which is the new Cali Doll bag charm, which obviously pays tribute to the iconic Kelly bag. If you're not familiar with the original bag that this piece was inspired by, the Cali Doll bag was designed by Jean-Louis Dumas back in 2000. And the story goes that Jean-Louis Dumas is an extremely creative person who loves reinventing the wheel. And one day he was just sketching around, playing around with one of their most iconic pieces, the Kelly bag. And he came up with this smiling mascot with the tiny little hands and the cute little eyes that was, I believe, created originally for a store opening or for some sort of a special occasion. But the hype got so crazy that they ended up producing it maybe for a season or two for sale, after which it basically vanished and was only available to be special ordered by the most loyal clients of the brand, only for a couple of years, however. For the past few years, I don't think that this is a bag that was available. However, I've been seeing more and more of them popping up here and there, mainly in auctions that were more recently produced. And by more and more, I mean maybe 1 or 2 of them. So if this is something that you've always loved, perhaps this will be your chance to pick up the original Cali Doll bag, because I wouldn't be surprised if the bag made a comeback too, alongside with the bag charm, But if anything, this bag charm for sure is launching. And this has the exact same ethos as the Kelly Twilly, which launched back in 2020. That's a piece that I had a chance to pick up, and since then I've done several reviews on it. So if you are hoping to pick up the Cali Doll, or if you're not quite sure, you're torn, you like the idea of it but not sure how you would use it, then I would recommend that you check out my Kelly Twilly review, because this has the exact same idea and the exact same features. Obviously the main difference being that this has little hands and little cute adorable feet. And then instead of having the twilly on top that you would use to attach it to certain things, you have a leather strap. But it opens, it closes, it does the exact same things. And I assume it's the exact same sizing as well. So for me, I am personally not the biggest fan of my Cali Twilly either. I was a little bit disappointed with how much I was able to do with it. So for me, I'm going to say for the Cali Doll that this is enough for me. I personally just would not spend the money on it again. The price of the Cali Doll, if you can believe it, is even more expensive than the Cali Twilly. It starts at around $4,500 in the US, or in that price range, and it's just around 3,000 euros in Europe. It will be available either in Tadalek leather or Butler. Tadalek is the exact same leather as the Cali Twilly. But for this kind of money, I think unless you are a true Hermes collector and fanatic, I think you can do a lot better with that kind of money, even at Hermes. The next two pieces could be really easily bunched together, because other than the design on the front in terms of functionality, the way they look on the inside, and even the way you would go about using them, they are virtually identical, which are the Roulis and the Constance Slim. The way I personally see these pieces is that they are basically a miniaturized version of each one of their bag ancestors. So obviously the Roulis was inspired by the Roulis bag, which is a bag that I own. A really long time ago I did a review on it. A long story short, I'm not a fan of the Roulis bag. And then of course you don't need to be introduced to the Constance bag, which inspired the Constance Slim. But what's great about these pieces is that they give you an idea of what owning the bags will feel like, but they are not quite as expensive. And they're not quite as complex either, but they have a lot more going on than just a plain, simple wallet would. But that is also represented in the price. So the Constance Slim, as I mentioned in my original review, is around $2,500, or it starts at $2,500. And then the Roulis starts at $2,300, I believe. They both come in a huge variety of colors and even leathers. I've seen the Roulis in Ever color as well as goatskin, and I believe also matte gator. And then I've also seen the Constance Slim in Epsom, Ever color, as well as both matte and shiny gator. So you have plenty of options available for you. I would suggest that you check out my review on the Constance Slim before you pull the trigger, because I do compare it to another popular piece that I personally prefer. And if I had to choose between the Roulis and the Constance Slim, which I obviously had to when I made my decision to buy the Constance Slim, for me it was a no-brainer to go for the Constance Slim, not the Roulis Slim, because I find the Roulis so incredibly annoying to use. You would think that it's an easier piece to get on with than the Constance, because it has no sort of a mechanism that you use to close the bag. You just have the Chandon inspired bar and then that long flap that you just slide underneath it. But because the flap is so wide and it's so heavy, it is quite tricky to slide underneath it and open it and close it every single time. You just have to go and see it for yourself in the boutique if you get a chance to try them, play around with them, and I think you'll have a feel for what I'm talking about. I just don't find it really practical, and even though I love the Chandon, for me on the Roulis design it just doesn't add or take away anything from it. It's just meh. So for me the Roulis piece, if it was gifted to me, I'm sure I would be happy with it, but it's not a piece that I would pick up. And then the Constance Slim, I'm going to say I don't know if it's cheating because they're so similar in terms of the way you use them. But for me, the Constance Slim I would say is a great investment because I think it would give you a good idea of what owning a Constance bag would feel like. It's a piece that you can use in so many different ways, and it's also something that will most likely last you a lifetime. Only two left to go, one for the Birkin lovers and one for the Kelly fans. But let's start with the Birkin back pocket, which I actually included in a pretty recent What's New from Hermes video of mine, so you might have heard me talk about this too. But the Birkin back pocket is this recent launch from Hermes that was designed to slide over the back handle of your Birkin bags and be this additional pocket just hanging out there. Now, I've said this before and I have to say it again, I find this completely useless. I don't see the point of creating a back pocket for the Birkin, which is known and beloved for being an open style tote with already two pockets on the inside. If this piece launched for the Cali bag, I think it would make more sense because the Cali bag is just a little bit more difficult to get in and out of because you have the flap and then you have the twist closure. But the Birkin is the easiest bag to just reach into, although it's not too easy that you have to worry about the safety of your bag. But if you want to get into your Birkin, it's so easy. Trust me, it's going to be easier than getting into this back pocket, which will never stand still. It will flap back and forth. It will be difficult to open the zipper because Hermes zip, when you first buy them, they are so stiff and strong that they are difficult to open and close. It will be just a headache. Obviously, if you're one of those rare people who uses their Birkins completely shut every single time, ignore me, this will make your life a lot easier. But if you belong to the majority of us who doesn't really close their bags unless there is a need for it every once in a while, I just wouldn't spend the money on it. I think you're much better off spending this money on something else from Hermes or put this money towards a bag insert that will give you a lot more organization, that will help to support the structure of your bag, and just take advantage of the already existing pockets inside of your Birkin. You have one on the front that's open, you have a zip pocket in the back, which, because it's a zip pocket, it does give you a zip, so it will keep everything safe and sound in there. So for me, I want to say not for me because I could see this working for like the 0.1% of people who use their Birkin shot, but for me this is going to be an avoid. For the price, I could just never bring myself to buy this. All we have left is a pair of sneakers, which I have to be honest with you, I'm kind of torn on. So I don't even know where I'm going to put this. So let me tell you a little bit about it. These are the new day sneakers that are going to be available both for men and women. And they not only come in a low top version, which is the ones that we have here, but they also come in a high top version, which are called the Daydream, and then these are the Day. And they're basically a super simple pair of sneakers with the Kelly twist closure as an added detail. And I can't make up my mind if I love them or if I dislike them. Every time I see them, I have a different opinion. I've had a chance to try these on in the Daydream version, which are the high tops, and I personally wasn't the biggest fan of them on myself. But I have to be honest, in general, I don't like high tops, so I'm waiting to try on the low top version to finally make up my mind, because I think it can go one or two ways. It will either look extremely refined with that Cali twist closure, or it will look extremely cheap. I've seen them in black and in white so far, and they come with either palladium or rose gold finish when it comes to the metal. One thing for you to bear in mind, that if you like the rose gold, you're going to have to pay quite a bit more money for it. I don't know why, but rose gold shoes are always more expensive, or I should say always almost more expensive than palladium finish. So I don't know, for now, I think I'm gonna go for matte, because I'm kind of undecided. They are quite expensive, even for Hermes. These are just over $1,000 in the US and just under 1,000 euros in Europe. And then in the Daydream version, the high tops, they're a couple $100s more. So for a pair of shoes, they are expensive. I will try them on in person, and as soon as I do, I will let you know. The high tops, I wasn't a fan of. Obviously, if these were less expensive, I wouldn't be so critical and they would perhaps be even a love, but for over $1,000, they better be perfect. My friends, this completes today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And if there are any other categories that you'd like to see me rank from Hermes, please be sure to let me know in the comments section. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you back here with a new video on Thursday. Bye!